All right. Now, I went through every team in the league and came up with 8 breakthrough players. 8 players that I feel like might be in line for, in the event of an injury or just natural um, natural progression, could get big point totals. Now, a couple of the things have occurred to me as well today, which I'll go ahead and mention in this video, even though it's not related. Jason Botchford's published an article basically stating that Adam Hall for, or not Adam Hall, Taylor Hall for Adam Larson, lopsided, and the Canucks should have offered up Tanev in the number 5 draft pick. No. No, Jason Botchford, no. And as a person who is not too far from Vancouver, I can honestly say, I know it's a slow news day. I know Jason Botchford's got to have an article, but he's got to do better. Chris Tanev is not an offensive dynamo. He's not going to score you 35, 40, 50 points a year. But he might score 30 tops. And he is so defensively solid. I have never had a single complaint about Tanev. Trading him for Hall would have been completely illogical for the Canucks. Hall's one of the best forwards in hockey. The Canucks' biggest weakness is the blue line. And you can't trade Tanev and not have anybody to take his place. And throw in the number 5 draft pick? Okay, so the Oilers get Tanev, and they get the number 5 draft pick, so, they would have had 4 and 5. They would have had Puljujarvi, and then they could have grabbed Ulevi, and still been better than the Canucks. Like, I don't get it. There's the other problem, okay? From the Oilers' standpoint, trading within the division. This happened with Corey Schneider, too. When Corey Schneider went to Jersey, and they're like, the Oilers would have made a bigger trade than that. Craig McTavish said he would have traded more than a top 10 draft. He would have given more to the Canucks. Yeah, he would have had to. It's in the division. Teams try not to make big, huge trades inside their division because they come back to friggin' haunt them. So you'd rather trade with the other conference so that you only play the guy max 2 times a year. This isn't rocket science. But this is just Botchford's way. See, I may question decisions like the McCann deal. I may question it. But I'm not going to sit here and slam Benning. A lot of people do. A lot of people slam Jim Benning. And I think some of it's justified and a lot of it isn't. Especially when I see things like he hasn't won a trade in 2 years. Yeah, he has. He inherited a team on its way down, and it's really hard to pull a team out of that tailspin when the core is either signed to deals that are unmovable or they're unmovable. It's difficult. It's like getting a car secondhand and everything's breaking in it, but you can't find replacement parts. That car is going to keep breaking down, and it's going to keep getting worse. And that's where Vancouver is right now. So I don't blame Benning so much. I do have problems with some of his moves, yes, but not all of them. I'm not piling on. I think he's been very good when it comes to free agents. I think he's been very good when it comes to drafting. I think the Canucks right now have the best prospect pool they've ever had. So I'm not completely down on them. And I don't agree with Botchford that, we could have got Taylor Hall. Let's just package Tanev and get a top 6 forward, is what his article said. No. Who are you getting from where, and show your math. This is the same comment that I've made to people online when they make statements like, well, we should just go out and get, insert name a player here. And this is a recommendation to people who get tired of dealing with those people. Ask them, say, okay, we need to get rid of this guy, Joe Smith. We need to get rid of Joe Smith. Who are we getting? From where? And how does it make sense for them to do it? Show me how we win the trade and they win the trade. Why do I do it as a GM? Why do you do it as a GM? Show your math. They won't. A lot of these people online that are just, everything sucks. And if I was GM, I would package Lucas Sabiza and Yannick Hansen and a first, and I'd go out and get us a superstar. Like, it's that easy. That's the thing. I've never claimed that being a GM is easy, because it's not. It's hard as hell, because all 30 want to win. It's not like anybody's sitting there right now going, geez, Buffalo hasn't been in the playoffs in a long time. Listen, why don't we give them Getzlaf and Perry? You know, we should. Let's just give them Getzlaf and Perry. We'll get a couple of draft picks back, and then maybe when Tim Murray's in town, he'll buy us a beer. I'm so tired of seeing Buffalo. We've got it good here in Anaheim. Let's give them Getzlaf and Perry. Let's. In fact, you know what? Let's make a call to Washington, and we'll make sure that Braden Holtby goes there too. So Buffalo has every chance to, because we want them to. No. If you're a GM, you're looking to take advantage of the other GM every time you make a trade, or you're a GM who's on his way out of work. It's that simple. No GM goes into a trade going, I really hope this helps them as much as it helps us. Really pulling. No. You are thinking, this is for my job, this is for my team, and this is for right now. Unless you're a team that's convinced you need to do a rebuild, and then this is a trade for 2 to 4 years down the road. So yeah. All right. On to breakout players. Now, to be a breakout player, you can't be a rookie. So anybody who's like, where is, insert name of rookie here, rookies don't count as breakout players. And you can't be a guy who's already scored. I set the bar at about 50 points. I mean, if guys scored like Galchenyuk, I was like, well, Galchenyuk's going to have a great year. But he had 30 goals. So, you know, I can't really say, oh, this 30 goal scorer, he's going to be good this year, because of course he is. It's not really going out on a limb. And yet, I don't consider any of these guys to be going out on a limb either. I didn't grade them as first through 8. I just went through each team alphabetically. And a lot of teams just didn't have guys that qualified, because you have to be a player who's been in the league for more than, well, you have to not be a rookie anymore. And you have to be a guy who I see as having a shot at potentially top 6 numbers. I didn't include any defensemen, because defensemen as breakout scorers, it's really wildly inconsistent, and it's really hard to predict because they usually come into their own later in their careers. All right. First up is Nick Ritchie in Anaheim. I think that with the vacuum up front, past that first line, I think he has every shot at being a good scorer for Anaheim this year. And if anybody takes these 8 guys in their pool and they lose their hockey pool, I really hope you don't come after me. That'd be just, don't do that. And before I go to the next one, there was a comment made that I was going to make a comment on. Somebody came in as the draft reaction video, which is still my #1 most viewed video. And people are still slamming me on that video. That's the funny thing. That draft reaction video is over 2 months old, and people are still slamming, like, how dare you? And it's like, okay, I've really moved on, and you need to do the same. Like, I've moved on. You know, like, you should get the funny one was one today. A guy goes, you should have a Leafs hat. And I'm thinking, dude, I got like 3 Leafs hats. You have no idea what you're talking about. And ironically, I have 4 of those buckets that I ordered for like $3 each from Lids. And because of how I look wearing that Canucks bucket in that video, I have never worn any of them. I don't care how hot it gets. I'm not wearing them, other than for a goofy fucking video for you people. I'm not wearing it. It's just, I'm not wearing any of them ever. I can't do it unless I get like a beet farm. If I get a beet farm, maybe. All right. Second on my list is Frank Vatrano of Boston, as I said. Vatrano has put up fantastic stats in the minors. Hasn't quite translated to the NHL. Now, he might be another Matt Fraser. He might be a guy who posts really good numbers in the minors and it just never translates to the NHL. I hope not. Because while I was watching Boston games, and I was like, I really like this kid even when he's not scoring, I was watching other Bruins fans on Facebook like, get rid of Vatrano, get him out of the lineup. And it's like, are you guys watching the same kid I'm watching? This kid's on the verge, and you guys are just, get him out, get him out. And it's like, why? For who? And again, show your math. Who are you replacing him with? Is Cam Neely coming out of retirement? Is he coming down for the president's box? I don't think so. That would be fucking amazing, though. That'd be amazing. Just in between the second and the third, you hear like Superman music, and you see Neely putting on his jersey. He's coming into the game. He doesn't care if he's allowed or not. You know, wearing his '80s Boston jersey, so it doesn't even match to the jerseys on the ice. Maybe he's wearing black and they're wearing white. He doesn't care. He's Cam Neely. Um, that'd actually be an amazing moment. It really would. Third on my list, Buffalo's Sam Reinhart. Reinhart put up good totals last year, but it's only the tip of the iceberg. And I really hope, for the love of God, that one of Paul Reinhart's kids becomes a star. Max Reinhart stalled out, is in the AHL. I honestly wouldn't mind seeing him in Vancouver getting a shot. Reinhardt's kid. I really want Reinhardt's kids to do well. Griffin is apparently still learning how to skate in Edmonton and learning how to play defense. And I really want Griffin to do well too. So Sam's probably the only hope left for a star out of the three. And I really hope he succeeds. So I've got him on my breakout list. Number 4's Elias Lindholm in Carolina. Carolina is an interesting story. Now, I've slammed Carolina to the ground. I make no bones about that. I have, for their lack of any hope going into next year. But there's always those teams. And because of that, it works to Lindholm's advantage. His totals have been okay his first 2 years. So third year's usually when a guy will have a breakout. And there's room for him to do it. Jordan Staal's the number 1 center. If Lindholm gets off to a good start, he's the number 1 center. It's that simple. Because Jordan Staal doesn't have the offensive acumen to be the number 1 center in the NHL. I'm not saying Lindholm does either, but Lindholm's a lot younger with a lot more potential. Next on my list, Dallas, Matthias Janmark. Janmark impressed the hell out of me in the playoffs. And he has tremendous puck smarts. And I really think this year he could break through, because if he plays on a line with Spezza, if he's on that second line, with Spezza feeding you the puck, even though Spezza's not quite the player he was, the potential for Janmark to break through and have a 25-goal season is there. I love the kid. I think he's a fantastic talent. Next on my list is, and I've praised this guy before, praised him all through the playoffs. You can go back to my old playoff videos. Victor Arvidsson in Nashville. Holy Lord, that kid's awesome. He is, and the scoring potential is there. I know when he scored that goal in the playoffs, I was like, holy shit, it's about time Arvidsson got a goal. Because I cheer for this kid, and I really think with Nashville and with Lavioletta's coach and that up-tempo style they play, that if he can get off to a good start in October, he can ride it right through the season. And I really hope he does, because I love the energy the kid has. I love the fight. And if he can show consistency, play the same at home as he does on the road, yada yada yada. If he can have that game come together on a consistent basis, he's I'm gonna put him in Bergeron's category, but maybe like a Bergeron Jr. for being a two-way forward guy who's really good defensively and offensively. Now I say Bergeron Jr. because he's not gonna put up those kind of point totals, but he could get in shouting. He could get within shouting distance. New Jersey, Reed Boucher. Why not? Camilleri's getting on a little bit. Jersey's going to want to see what the younger players are able to do. And with Henrique and Hall in the lineup, and maybe they say, okay, we're going to go with a little bit of younger flavor, and maybe Boucher gets a shot. Maybe this year he finally shows the goal-scoring acumen at the NHL level that he's shown at juniors and at the American Hockey League level. Maybe this is the year. So I thought I'd throw him onto the list and say, go Boucher. And then my last one on the list, and this may seem really obvious and it may seem cheap, is Jonathan Drouin. But Drouin, when he played really well in the playoffs, Stamkos was out. So it's not a sure thing that he's going to score a lot of points this year in Tampa, because Stamkos should, in all likelihood, be 100% and good to go. And that'll knock Drouin down in the lineup a little bit. But you just never know. I mean, there's always the chance for injuries. And I liked his game in the playoffs far more than I did during any of the rest of his career. Any of the games I saw from last season or the year before, any game I saw him play in, he was just dialed in the playoffs. It's like And people react too quickly with kids. And I've said this in other videos. They have to learn. They're kids. So yeah, you send them to the American Hockey League, and some of them will handle it, and some of them have tantrums. Some of them don't want to do it. They don't want to do the work. Toronto's got a guy in Kirby Reichel that if they try sending him to the American Hockey League, he may lose his shit because they think they're ready. And when a team looks and goes, this guy just can't play in our lineup, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep him in the press box? No, he's not going to be happy there either. You want to bury him on the fourth line? He's going to be miserable there. So you just have to, demote him to the American Hockey League, and his actual concern for the rest of his team, his unselfishness will show up at that point. Vancouver last year, Chris Higgins. Chris Higgins never complained once about being sent to the American Hockey League. This guy's got over 10 years of NHL experience. Sent to the American Hockey League, unceremoniously dumped, and didn't say a word. And when he came back up to the NHL, when injuries took place, he played really well. He doesn't have the scoring anymore, but he played really well. And he showed a lot of character. So that will evolve for these kids. And Drouin, I think, learned a lot. The player that I saw in the playoffs last year was completely different than the player I saw before. And if he's still that player going to this regular season, I think he's in for a big season. So those are my 8 breakout candidates. Potential, hey, this guy could be, worth picking up. Not first or second round in a hockey fantasy draft, but later on, when when all the bigger names are off the board, and you're looking for that guy who might score you a few points, maybe you say, I'll take Reed Boucher, and they go, what? Because often the guy that they go, what, will be the one that later on they're saying, oh, you were smart for picking him up. So, anyways, yeah, that's my list. And I thank you for staying up. If you're on the East Coast, staying up to watch, I don't know why you would, but I thank you. And if you're watching this tomorrow, then good morning. But yeah, this season coming up, I'm excited for it. We're still about 2.5 months out because they have the World Cup of Hockey. I intend to cover the World Cup of Hockey, but I've said it in previous videos as well. The whole Young Stars team and Team Europe kind of put me off. Just have the countries. I know they did it to get Kopitar in there. They did it so that all these young kids would get to play international hockey, but it cheapens the tournament. Makes it look like an all-star game. Just have the countries. If you want to call it the World Cup of Hockey, then by all means have a World Cup. And what I mean by that is you go, okay, you got 4 years. So in the 3 years before the World Cup, you have tournaments all around the world. So you'll have Ireland, Australia, Poland, all of these countries competing in tournaments and moving up spot by spot to see if they qualify for the World Cup of Hockey. So when you get to that World Cup, you can have 12 teams. You can have a round robin. Where you have three groups of 4, and then you figure out a playoff system from there. And you're going to have a feel-good story, a team that worked for 3 years to get to that moment. And no, they're not going to be as good as that team of young stars or that Team Europe you put together. But then it feels like a World Cup. This thing they've put together, it's a cash grab in my eyes. And to me, they're trying to soften the blow for the fact they're not going to the next Olympics. I really don't think the NHL is going to the next Olympics. Which is going to get ugly when Ovechkin says, well, I'm going. I'm playing for Russia. And he's always indicated that that's what he would do. So I guess we'll see what happens there. Anyways, I'm just touching on that. And then I'm out for the night. So thanks for watching.